I'm Dr. Sanaz Cordis. I'm one of the chief healthcare advisors at Worldwide Technology, and our vertical covers the provider side, payer side, and the life science side of healthcare. At Worldwide, we have an opportunity to help a lot of clients across a lot of industries and health system sizes. And some of the things that we are fortunate to do, for example, is a lot of work on engaging patients with digital solutions, offering them the tools they need when they need it to access care. A ton of work around clinician experience, empowering them with the tools they need to automate unnecessary workflows. We do a lot of work around transforming just the way that things happen within the hospital. So automating laboratory research and things that are happening behind the scenes. So a lot of great opportunity to bring technology in to solve real challenges that we see across the board in healthcare. I think as a society, we have, traditionally delivered sick care. And I have a colleague that always refers to it as, why can't we deliver well care? Moving from sick care to well care. When I look at things like, heart failure, cardiovascular disease is the most expensive condition in the US. We spend millions of dollars taking care of these patients, and that care is usually reactive. We wait until they're ill, they come in, and they have, worse outcomes because of that. With heart failure, it's the number one cause of death. 2 to 5% of patients, of people between the ages of, 50 to 70 have heart failure as a diagnosis. The challenge we continue to face, we move the needle on it a little bit each year, continues to be around data. There's a lot of data inside and outside of the health system walls, but the ongoing challenge with that is how do we access it at the right time, at the right place, and get it to the right people.
Hi, I'm Scott Pello with Worldwide Technology. I'm a delivery lead in the software division. Worldwide Technology is a large-scale company. And about 7 years ago, we added software, big data, cloud, and security practices. We worked with several hospitals where we've designed some of the software. So we have extensive history in the medical field. One of the solutions is a home care option where a patient might be at home and a doctor prescribes them a medical device that uses Bluetooth, so an IoT device that might Bluetooth to a phone, and it's taken some of their vital signs several times throughout the day, and it's sending that data across the cloud. Then it ends up at a clinic or a hospital where edge compute is happening, and that's where that Azure Stack Edge comes into play. All of this data is put into a database, and the Azure Stack Edge computes this data in real time at the edge, and it essentially bubbles up the patients who might be more critical. So it's really about, expediting the process of identifying patients that are trending in a bad direction, and maybe freeing up some space for the ones that are getting better.
I think what we've seen, certainly in the last year, it's been highlighted, is that the more data we can collect from the patients and the more we can do it in a passive manner, the more accurate, that meaningful information is to our diagnostic and treatment process.
If you can imagine, these hospitals have a tremendous amount of devices right now that they're collecting all the analytics on, all the telemetry that's in a hospital. All of that data can be automatically ingested into this solution and processed as well by the Azure Stack Edge. So it'll give the ability for a current hospital that has all of this information that isn't currently being processed in a smart way through AI or machine learning. It provides that ability so they could also learn about the in-hospital patients of who might be trending in a certain way. And it also provides a really strong ability, once you gain a historical amount of data, to do some predictive analysis and start to predict ahead of time patients that might be getting in trouble. With the ability to do predictive analysis through historical data on something like heart attacks, where they know there's certain markers, you would have the ability to say, this person's going into something like tachycardia. We can see that, and they could get ahead of that before that person might get into a little bit more trouble. So if they give you an IoT device that maybe you put on that's measuring your blood pressure, your heart rate, several other things, it provides the ability to maybe even triage people in the waiting room and make some determinations of, hey, this person actually needs to get seen right now. They can't wait. Like they're starting to go downhill. So there's just endless amounts of possibilities how this could change everything and how we diagnose patients and how we respond in a much quicker way to patient care. Microsoft has the Azure Stack Edge device, which puts all of the data at the edge in the hospital, in the clinic setting, doing compute real time to provide this smart logic to facilitate quick decision making for doctors. And of course, the Azure Stack Edge is powered by Intel.
Hi, I'm Kevin Lopez. I'm part of the Azure Hybrid Solutions team. And what we cover, we're also known as the Azure Global Black Belts. And what we traditionally cover is all the hybrid solutions that Microsoft brings to market. And what our team tries to do is to sit with customers to understand what their current environment looks like, what needs they might have currently, what their future looks like between hybrid cloud. So bridging that, Azure public and what they're doing in private, bringing in Arc to maybe look at managing their all-up environment. And we help to kind of guide them on the journey of what they're doing in their environment and bringing, the Azure Hybrid Solutions to play. Some of the key components for Azure Stack Edge is that, sort of hardware accelerated machine learning, again, at the edge. So you're doing all your compute, you're doing all the kind of machine learning and inferencing of the data at the edge. It's an Azure managed appliance, so it's something that a customer utilizes the Microsoft ecosystem to manage that device for them. They don't have to purchase hardware, so it's a monthly subscription, and they can cancel and send it back. They can cancel and upgrade. Azure Stack Edge is a 1U device, which has the onboard compute. It has the capacity to run AI models there at the edge and give you a data output. It also has the ability to store data. So you can store the data that you want. You can transfer it up to Azure Public for deeper analysis at a certain point. And it has, some onboard storage that it can do with that as well. There's multiple devices that you can order. So there's the commercial series, there's a ruggedized series. And then it does, outside of just the AI models, you have the opportunity to use Kubernetes. You're getting, additional form factors as they're coming out, and you could do VMs on the device itself. So it's a small space, it's a small device, and really is powerful in what you could do. And they could do that with the data that they're pulling in from these different devices within a clinical standpoint or remotely from a patient and be able to run models on that. What can I do in my environment? Some other solutions as to what Azure Stack Edge does there, right? So you can see on the graph, it's working with Azure Stack Edge, with IoT Hub, and you're able to kind of use the hardware acceleration, be able to take some of the on-premises data and load that into there. If you want to do imaging, right, you could load some images from cameras. You can use tools like Azure Arc and even IoT to be able to help to differentiate your solutions or grow your solutions. You can network transfer that to deeper storage, on the Azure cloud and be able to, again, run deeper models with the full Azure public cloud at your beck and call. Fire API is just a single source of truth for all data. So the Fire API runs on Azure Stack Edge and it puts data into a format, right? In this case, a Fire format. And you're able to kind of add that to, the Fire SQL database on the Azure Stack Edge. That keeps, the Azure Stack Edge from needing a publicly available endpoint to collect the data. The patient data generator can send the data directly to the Fire API. And that could be, if you're on a local area network, or in this case, if you're remote. So when a patient is remote, it's going to send it through the public cloud down to the Azure Stack Edge, and then it's going to run that information, right there locally in the clinic or hospital or place, and provides your doctor or your nurse practitioner or your person some real-time alerts. Everything's run as containers for this particular solution. We're using Kubernetes on the Azure Stack Edge appliance. It has a managed Kubernetes environment, and we're able to deploy containerized apps, again, at the edge. It can accelerate machine learning model inferencing across Intel hardware using Onyx Runtime, which is an open source project founded by Microsoft and supported by Intel. The Onyx Runtime supports, machine learning optimization across ngraph, deep learning compiler, Intel distribution of OpenVINO toolkit, and the Intel math kernel library for deep neural networks. And so using the Azure Stack Edge for this particular solution, what we're able to do is to use that edge compute and really, take those mountains of data, take that information that is coming in and make it more manageable, make it into actionable insights that doctors can really use and hopefully really leading to more positive patient outcomes.
When we collect passive data, as we talked about, passively from devices, there's a lot of normal data, right? Or there's a lot of abnormal normal data that's trending up and down. And being able to also tap into this information, whether it's in real time or even in batch, historic fashion, allows us to start to get smarter and smarter. So rather than it being a one-off reactive kind of, we're going to take this information on this patient, it allows us to start mining this massive amount of data we're collecting across all demographics, ages, of patients, and then really starting to see these predictive insights and predictive analytics that then change the way we practice moving forward.
There's so much data coming in. There's so many devices, so much telemetry happening. It's really just too much information. And a human just can't process all that information. So a lot of it is waiting for something to happen. So, if there's somebody in an emergency room bed and they're monitoring them for something, until things start flashing red and going crazy, right? A lot of the times they're not going to react. And this provides the ability to really get ahead of those types of things and get involved in patient care before things start to take a turn for the worse. So it really is a game changer for how it's going to change patient care in the hospital. It's going to free up time for doctors. Imagine they have all this information. You are a home patient and you have all this historical data from monitoring your vital signs, and you're coming in for your appointment. The doctor has all of that right there. They can see all of that. They can see the predictive analysis. They can say, yeah, you're trending in the right way, you're trending the wrong way. We've got to adjust your meds. The ability to diagnose and update and facilitate patient care is going to be expedited substantially.
I think with remote monitoring and collecting this information, they're starting to see the powerful outcomes. They're starting to see that the automation and the aggregation is eliminating hours and hours of work, but more importantly, doing something in a matter of seconds that humans couldn't do over many, many hours. And so I think as they start to see both the workflow benefits and more importantly, the patient outcomes, the adoption follows. And that's absolutely what we saw with virtual care, telemedicine. And this is just sort of the next frontier of moving, towards that level.
So this is just the start. This is really the tip of the iceberg where we can grow these solutions and be able to really show value where the customer is looking for it.